Space was quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet that followed victory or exhaustion, but the wrong kind. The kind that felt staged, like a held breath. Far beyond the orbit of Pluto, where human signals thinned into background noise, space split open. One by one, massive alien warships emerged from hyperspace. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Finally, thousands. An invasion armada so large it bent light around itself. Hulls layered with weapons. Carriers heavy with ground forces. Command vessels older than some civilizations. The fleet formed a perfect attack formation without urgency. They were not afraid. According to their intelligence, Earth was primitive, loud, violent toward itself, technologically uneven. No unified galactic presence. No known allies. A species that argued while it burned its own world. Easy. The alien commanders reviewed the data again as a formality. Earth had satellites. Old orbital weapons. Nuclear stockpiles aimed inward more than outward. No deep space fleets detected. No large-scale defense grid visible. Most importantly, no response. No alarms. No emergency signals. No attempt to contact them. Earth remained silent. The invasion fleet advanced. At first, nothing happened. The ships crossed the invisible boundary past Pluto, engines humming smoothly. Long-range sensors scanned empty space. Probes were launched ahead, slipping forward like scouts into darkness. Then the first probe vanished. No explosion. No debris. No radiation spike. It simply stopped existing. A junior officer flagged it as a system failure. Probes fail all the time. Space was unpredictable. Another probe followed. Gone. A third. Gone. The command deck grew quieter. Multiple commanders leaned closer to their displays. They widened scan ranges, adjusted frequencies, checked for cloaked mines or stealth platforms. Nothing. Space ahead appeared empty. The fleet continued forward. Then a destroyer on the outer edge of formation disappeared. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just erased. The ship had been there one moment. A massive war vessel filled with thousands of lives. And the next, there was empty space where it should have been. No warning alarms had sounded. No defensive fire had been detected. The fleet halted. Command channels erupted with overlapping voices. Orders were shouted. Sensors recalibrated again and again. Advanced AI systems ran simulations at impossible speeds. Every result came back the same. There was no weapon detected. That made it worse. The invasion commander demanded explanations. Subordinates suggested rare spatial anomalies. Others blamed unknown human experiments. Some insisted it was coincidence layered on coincidence. Then another ship vanished. And another. The disappearances were spreading inward, closer to the core of the formation. Still, Earth said nothing. No threats. No broadcasts. No panic. That silence began to feel deliberate. The invasion commander authorized a full system-wide scan, pushing sensors beyond safe limits. The fleet slowed, formation tightening defensively. Then every screen flickered. A signal cut through all channels at once. Clear, steady, unmistakably artificial. Humans. The message was simple. No symbols. No threats. Just plain language translated instantly by alien systems. You are approaching restricted space. Turn back. The bridge went silent. Some officers laughed. Others scoffed. A few remained quiet, staring at the words as if they might change. Restricted space? Earth had never declared such a thing. It had never claimed authority beyond its moon. According to galactic law, it barely qualified as a spacefaring power. The commander dismissed the message as psychological warfare, a bluff meant to slow the advance. Humans had always been dramatic. He ordered the fleet forward. The message vanished. For several long seconds, nothing happened. Then space itself shifted. Not violently, not with fire or light, just pressure. Artificial gravity surged in waves across the fleet. Ships groaned as internal stabilizers struggled to compensate. Navigation systems failed all at once. Formation alignment collapsed. Several vessels collided before emergency protocols could engage. Then the gravity intensified. One cruiser folded inward like paper crushed by an invisible hand. Hull plates warped. Internal compartments collapsed. The ship imploded without a single shot fired. Panic spread. Weapons powered up across the armada. Energy cannons charged. Missile bays opened. Targeting systems searched desperately for something, anything, to shoot. There was nothing. No ships. No platforms. No visible enemy. Another ship vanished. Then two more. The commander screamed orders, demanding return fire, countermeasures, anything that could restore control. That was when they detected it. A structure. Not ahead. Not behind. All around them. An enormous, invisible construct spanning millions of kilometers of space, anchored between Earth and Mars. Its presence had been masked perfectly, hidden beneath natural cosmic noise and gravitational interference. It was not a wall. It was a net, and they were inside it. As the realization spread, a second human transmission appeared. This one carrying no threat, no anger, only certainty. This zone is not defended by fleets, the voice said calmly. It is defended by law. The alien commander demanded to know what law could justify this. The reply came instantly. Survival. The net tightened. More ships lost power, drifting helplessly as gravity locked their systems in place. Others were crushed outright, their advanced technology rendered meaningless. Still, Earth showed no fleet, no warships, no armies, only control. Then something massive began to emerge from the darkness near Earth's orbit. Slow, deliberate, unmistakably human in design. It was not shaped like a ship. It was shaped like a decision that had been waiting a very long time to be used. The invasion commander stared at the growing silhouette, understanding at last what the galaxy had missed. Humanity had not been unprepared. Humanity has been patient. And the invasion had already failed, long before reaching Mars. The invasion commander demanded silence across every channel. The surviving ships drifted inside the invisible gravity net, engines straining but unable to break free. Some vessels still had partial control, rotating slowly as systems fought against forces they had never been designed to resist. Others were completely dead, hulks floating where moments ago disciplined crews had followed orders with confidence. The commander's hands trembled, not from fear, but from confusion. This was not how primitive species fought. Emergency councils formed aboard the remaining command ships. Analysts flooded the central bridge with revised data, pulling records that had not been opened in centuries. Ancient observation files, archived scouting reports, forgotten diplomatic summaries. Humanity. The name appeared again and again, buried under dismissive notes. Locally aggressive. Internally divided. High emotional volatility. Low probability of long-term galactic relevance. The galaxy had watched Earth briefly, long enough to confirm it was dangerous only to itself. Then it moved on. There were empires to manage, trade routes to secure, wars between real powers to prevent. No one had noticed when Earth stopped broadcasting curiosity and started broadcasting silence. The analysts now understood the mistake. Humanity had vanished from galactic attention not because it failed, but because it learned. One officer spoke carefully, choosing words that would not sound like panic. Commander, Earth's technological curve does not match our projections. Their gravity manipulation alone exceeds most core world capabilities. Another officer added, this structure between Earth and Mars did not appear recently. It would have taken centuries to build. Centuries. The realization settled heavily across the bridge. Humans had been preparing long before this invasion was conceived. The commander ordered a deeper scan of the structure itself. Sensors strained, bleeding false data and distorted readings. The net was layered, gravity fields woven through quantum anchors, powered by something that did not resemble any known reactor type. It was not a weapon made in desperation. It was infrastructure. Built, tested, refined, and left waiting. A communications officer interrupted, voice tight. Commander, we are detecting movement from Mars. The word sent a ripple through the command crew. Mars. The invasion plan had accounted for Earth's moon, even asteroid defenses. But Mars had been considered irrelevant, a half-colonized rock with minimal population and no known military value. The scans told a different story. Beneath Mars's surface, energy signatures began to rise. Vast ones. Not chaotic. Organized. Controlled. Hangars. Shipyards. The red planet was waking up. Before the commander could issue new orders, another human transmission arrived. This one was not a warning. It was information, broadcast openly, as if secrecy no longer mattered. You crossed the inner boundary of the soul exclusion zone. The phrase was unfamiliar. Exclusion zone? The message continued. This region was established after first contact protocols failed to protect our species. The commander demanded a reply. Against doctrine, the humans allowed it instantly. Explain, the commander said. Your species never declared this zone to the galaxy. The human voice responded without hostility. We tried. That single sentence carried more weight than any threat. The human speaker continued, voice steady, almost weary. When humanity first reached beyond its system, we asked questions. We sent probes. We listened. What we learned was simple. Space rewards silence. Visibility attracts predators. Images appeared on alien screens. Ancient, grainy footage from centuries past. Early human exploration vessels. Signals sent into the dark. Some answered. Most did not. Then came the responses that mattered. Destroyed probes. Lost ships. Vanished colonies. The galaxy had never noticed. These incidents were too small. Too far from trade lanes. Too insignificant to record. But humans remembered all of them. We learned faster than you expected, the voice said. We stopped asking to be included. The images changed. Construction sites hidden behind planetary shadows. Asteroids hollowed out and turned into factories. Power systems buried so deeply they blended with natural cosmic noise. Humanity did not race outward. It folded inward. It was fortified. The commander felt something close to dread, not fear of destruction, but fear of miscalculation on a historic scale. You could have joined us, the commander said. You could have become a power. The human reply came immediately. We did. Another ship vanished. This time, the net did not crush it. The vessel simply shut down. Every system went dark at once. The crew was left alive, floating, helpless. A choice. The commander finally understood the pattern. Humans were not fighting emotionally. They were not panicking. They were not retaliating blindly. They were demonstrating control. Mars's energy readings spiked again. Massive doors opened across the planet's surface, releasing shapes into orbit. Warships, but unlike anything in the invasion fleet. They were smaller, denser, built with brutal efficiency. No decorative structures. No excess mass. Just armor, engines, and weapons designed to function inside gravity storms and electromagnetic chaos. They did not rush forward. They formed lines. The commander ordered a retreat. Emergency hyperspace calculations ran across the fleet. Every jump failed. Space refused to bend. The human voice returned one last time, quieter now. We did not build this to conquer the galaxy. The net tightened slightly, not enough to destroy, but enough to remind. We built it so no one would ever reach our home again unless invited. The commander looked at the data, at the impossible scale of what surrounded them. Earth had not been undefended. Earth had been closed. Mars's fleet held position, waiting. The remaining invasion ships drifted, trapped between planets they had never respected. And somewhere deep within the structure between Earth and Mars, something else began to power up, something far larger than the gravity net itself. The human voice spoke one final sentence before cutting the channel. You are witnessing the first layer. The signal ended. The commander stared into the dark, realizing with chilling clarity that this invasion was not the beginning of a war. It was a lesson, and humanity had many more layers left to reveal. The invasion fleet no longer resembled an armada. It was a field of drifting metal, broken formations, and silent ships suspended inside an invisible prison. Gravity currents held them in place like insects trapped in amber. Engines burned fuel uselessly. Emergency systems screamed warnings no one could solve. The commander stood motionless on the bridge, staring at a three-dimensional projection of the Sol system. Earth, Mars, and the vast, unseen structure between them. This is not a defense grid, the commander said slowly. It's a boundary. The analysts agreed. Everything about the structure pointed to long-term intent. It was not optimized for fast reaction or dramatic destruction. It was built to last, to remain unseen, to operate without constant supervision. Humanity had not expected war tomorrow. Humanity had expected it eventually. New data streamed in from deep scan instruments pushed far beyond safe limits. Most of it was unusable, distorted by gravity shear and quantum interference, but patterns began to emerge. The net was layered. The outer layer disrupted navigation and hyperspace geometry. The second layer interfered with power systems and internal gravity. The third layer, no one knew yet. One analyst hesitated before speaking. Commander, the structure appears self-repairing. That caused a ripple of disbelief. Self-repairing megastructures were theoretical. Even the oldest empires struggled to maintain constructs a fraction of this size. Maintenance fleets alone would be visible across half the system. But Earth showed no traffic, no supply lines, no movement, which meant the system had been designed to operate alone. The commander finally understood the true danger. This was not humanity's main defense. It was only what they were willing to leave running unattended. Before anyone could respond, a tremor rippled through the fleet, not physical, but informational. Sensor feeds desynchronized. Timestamps drifted out of alignment. Cause and effect itself seemed slightly delayed. Reality was being manipulated. The commander shouted for clarification. An officer answered, voice shaking. Localized space-time distortion. They're compressing decision windows. Our reactions are slower than theirs. The implication was horrifying. Humans were not just controlling space. They were controlling time, not by stopping it, but by shaping it in their favor. Another human transmission arrived. This one included visuals. The projection is filled with scenes from Earth's history, familiar to humans, but shocking to alien eyes. Cities burning. World wars. Nuclear fire reflected in terrified eyes. Satellites falling from orbit. Climate collapse. Pandemics. Then the images slowed. Humans rebuilding. Launching again. Failing again. Learning. The human voice narrated calmly. We are not peaceful by nature. We are persistent. The images shifted to underground facilities. Deep space listening posts hidden inside comets. Generations of engineers working in silence. Every time we survived ourselves, we learned how close extinction truly was. The commander felt something new take root, an emotion unfamiliar to conquerors. Respect. The voice continued. So when we realized the universe was louder, older, and more dangerous than us, we stopped trying to be impressive. The footage changed again. Asteroids pulled gently into new orbits. Not mined aggressively, but reshaped. Turned into anchors, nodes, foundations. We stopped broadcasting. The invasion commander finally spoke, voice low. You hid. The human response came instantly. No. We listened. As if summoned by the words, something moved inside the net. The third layer activated. Ships across the invasion fleet experienced sudden internal failures. Not explosions, not sabotage, but quiet shutdowns. Weapons systems locked themselves. Targeting reticles froze mid-cycle. Even internal doors refused to open. Crew members were alive, unharmed, and completely powerless. The commander realized the terrifying truth. Human systems were inside their ships. Not hacking, integrating. Humanity had learned alien architecture long ago, by watching, by listening, by collecting wreckage from forgotten skirmishes the galaxy no longer remembered. The commander demanded a direct channel again. This time, the humans did not hesitate. Why show us this? The commander asked. Why reveal yourselves now? The human voice paused for the first time. Because you crossed the line where secrecy no longer protects us. Mars's fleet began to move. Not toward the trapped armada, but outward, spreading across carefully calculated vectors. Each ship took a position that made no sense tactically, unless they were sealing something. A massive energy signature ignited near the heart of the net. The commander's eyes widened. That output, it's unstable. An analyst corrected him softly. No, it's controlled. The object at the center of the structure revealed itself, not visually, but mathematically. Space curved around it. Light bent away. Sensors could only describe its absence. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was failsafe. The human voice returned, stripped of all softness. This system exists because we calculated the probability of someone like you eventually coming. The commander felt cold. And because we decided the Sol system would be the last place humanity ever fought for survival. The energy signature stabilized. Mars's fleet completed its formation. Earth's gravity field intensified, locking the entire region into a closed pocket of space. The commander understood then. This invasion had never threatened Earth. It had only tested how much of the galaxy humanity was willing to reveal. The human voice delivered one final sentence. What you are seeing now is not our military. Silence followed. Then the structure's core began to open. Something ancient. Something immense. Something that had been waiting longer than the invasion fleet itself. The commander watched the data spike beyond all known limits and realized, too late, that humanity's greatest weapon was not hidden between Earth and Mars. It was hidden behind them. The core did not open like a door. There was no flash of light, no explosion, no dramatic reveal. Space simply made room. Sensors across the invasion fleet screamed as equations failed and predictive models collapsed. Readings contradicted each other, then corrected themselves, then broke again. Distances stretched and shrank without warning. Timestamps jittered like nervous signals. The commander gripped the console as the projection of the Sol system re-rendered itself for the 5th time in less than a second. "What is that?" someone whispered. At the center of the net, where nothing should exist, a region of absolute calm formed. Gravity flattened. Radiation vanished. Even background cosmic noise dropped to zero. It was not empty. It was contained. An analyst spoke slowly, as if afraid the words themselves might trigger something. "It's a null volume. A controlled absence. They removed space." The concept was impossible. Space was the stage on which everything happened. You could bend it, curve it, energize it, but remove it? The human voice returned, not loud, not proud, almost instructional. "This is where we stopped." The commander demanded clarity. Stopped what? Progress. The answer made no sense. Humanity has advanced beyond most known civilizations. Their technology wrapped reality itself into tools. Their patience had reshaped an entire solar system into a trap no one had ever detected. Why would they stop? The human voice continued. Every species reaches a point where capability outpaces wisdom. Most cross it. We came close. Images appeared again, this time sharper, clearer. Human scientists arguing. Simulations running into red failure zones. Projections of cascading effects that spiraled beyond control. The commander watched as one simulation showed stars collapsing prematurely. Another showed regions of space permanently destabilized. Another showed entire civilizations erased, not by war, but by unintended consequence. "We learned something important," the voice said. "Winning at all costs eventually costs everything." The null volume pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. So we drew a line. The commander felt something twist inside him. Not fear. Recognition. The greatest empires he knew had never drawn such a line. They expanded until something stopped them. Usually another empire. Sometimes collapse. Never restraint. Mars's fleet held position, unmoving, weapons cold. Earth remained hidden behind layers of distortion, its cities invisible, its population protected by deliberate obscurity. Humanity was not posturing. Humanity was containing itself. The invasion commander realized the horrifying truth. If humans had chosen conquest instead of defense, there would be no galaxy left to argue about it. A sudden alert cut through the bridge. One of the remaining invasion ships, adrift, powerless, had begun to destabilize. Not exploding, phasing. Its molecular structure flickered, half present, half erased. "Commander," an officer said urgently. "It's being pulled toward the null volume." The human voice responded before he could speak. That ship crossed a secondary boundary. The commander clenched his jaw. "You're killing them." "No," the voice corrected. "We're removing them." The distinction chilled him. The ship drifted closer to the comm center. As it crossed the invisible threshold, its outline softened. Metal lost definition. Light bent strangely around it. Then it was gone. No debris. No energy release. Just absence. The commander understood then why humans had not used this weapon openly. This was not destruction. It was erased. A technology so absolute that it left no proof it had ever been used. "This system was never meant for you," the human voice said. "It was meant for us." The images changed again, this time showing Earth's early space age. Weapons placed in orbit. Arms races accelerating. Fear driving innovation faster than understanding. "We almost used it on ourselves." The commander swallowed. That single sentence revealed more about humanity than all the displays combined. They had built the means to end anything, including themselves, and then chosen not to. Instead, they buried it, locked it behind layers of law, automation, and restraint, left it dormant for centuries, hoping it would never activate. Until now, Mars's fleet shifted slightly, sealing the last escape vectors. Not aggressively. Precisely. The commander attempted one final retreat calculation. The result was immediate and final. No exit. The human voice spoke again, quieter than before. You are not our enemy. The commander laughed once, bitterly. Your system disagrees. Our system reacts to actions, not intentions, the voice replied. You chose invasion. Silence followed. Then the voice added something unexpected. But you have not yet chosen annihilation. A path opened. Not wide, not obvious. A narrow corridor through the gravity net, unstable but passable. It led away from Earth, away from Mars, away from the null volume. Only one ship could fit. The commander stared at it in disbelief. You're letting us leave? One of you, the human voice said. So the lesson survives. The commander understood the cost immediately. Choosing the path meant abandoning the rest of the fleet. Thousands of ships, millions of lives. But staying meant erasure. This was humanity's final test. Not of strength, of memory. The commander gave the order. One ship, his ship, powered what little remained of its engines and drifted toward the corridor. The path stabilized just long enough to accept it. As the ship crossed the threshold, the corridor began to collapse. Behind them, the net tightened. Not violently, decisively. The human voice spoke one last time, carried only to the escaping vessel. Tell them this. The commander listened. Earth is not hidden because it is weak. It is hidden because we refuse to become what the galaxy fears. The channel closed. Behind the escaping ship, the Sol system sealed itself again. The gravity net contracted inward, guiding the remaining invasion vessels toward containment zones or toward the null volume. The commander did not look back. He did not need to. He already knew what history would record. They had invaded Earth and discovered that humanity's greatest power was not the weapons it built in the dark, but the restraint it chose in the light. The surviving command ship tore free of the Sol exclusion zone like a wounded animal, its hull scorched by forces it could not name. Hyperspace snapped shut behind it, sealing the system as if it had never opened at all. Inside Sol, everything slowed. The gravity net relaxed, not released, but softened, guiding the remaining invasion vessels into fixed positions between Earth and Mars. They drifted in orderly arcs, arrested by invisible hands. Each ship held apart from the others with surgical precision. No collisions, no panic-inducing shocks, just control. Mars moved first. From the red planet's shadow, ships emerged in measured waves. Not the frantic scramble of a sudden mobilization, but the steady cadence of something long rehearsed. The vessels were compact and brutal, their surfaces matte black and scarred with old micrometeor impacts. They bore no markings, no banners, no names large enough to be seen at distance. They took stations along the inner edge of the net, forming a crescent that mirrored Mars's orbit. Earth did not appear. That absence was louder than any fleet. On the trapped invasion ships, crews waited. They checked systems again and again, hoping for errors, miracles, miscalculations. None came. Weapons remained locked. Drives refused to spool. Even emergency beacons failed to transmit beyond a few kilometers, swallowed by interference that felt intentional. A single human broadcast reached all ships simultaneously. It carried no visuals this time, only a voice. You are being held under containment protocol. Containment. The word carried implications far beyond imprisonment. This protocol exists to prevent escalation. The voice paused, then added. From either side, on Mars's surface, doors that had not opened in centuries slid apart. Massive structures rose from beneath the regolith, shedding red dust as they ascended. Rail systems extended, aligning with orbital vectors. Power lines flared, then stabilized. These were not weapons in the conventional sense. They were answers, built to respond to every scenario humanity had ever feared. Inside the command centers buried beneath Mars, human operators watched the invasion fleet with calm attention. They spoke little. Most of their decisions had already been made generations earlier, encoded into systems that prioritized survival over pride. A human officer finally broke the silence. Status. Containment is stable, another replied. No further losses. Good, the officer said. Keep it that way. That instruction revealed humanity's intent more clearly than any threat. They were done destroying. Now they were teaching. Back among the invasion ships, desperation gave way to dread. Alien commanders argued in hushed tones, debating whether to provoke, plead, or attempt suicide runs that would at least give meaning to their deaths. None of it mattered. The humans were not listening for surrender. They were watching for choices. One ship attempted a reckless maneuver, overloading its reactors in a last attempt to force an escape. The gravity net compensated instantly, bleeding the excess energy into space and leaving the ship powerless but intact. No punishment followed. No retaliation. That mercy was unbearable. Another ship powered down completely, broadcasting a signal of total compliance. The humans acknowledged it with a single tone and adjusted its holding vector slightly to reduce internal strain. The pattern became clear. Resistance brought restraint. Compliance brought care. Mars's fleet drifted closer, close enough now that the trapped crews could see details. Burn marks repaired and repaired again. Armor layered not for intimidation but for endurance. These ships had been built to outlast wars. A new transmission reached the invasion fleet, this one longer, slower. We will now explain. The human voice spoke as if addressing students, not enemies. Our species survived because we learned the cost of miscalculation. We miscalculated often. We paid for it every time. The feed displayed brief flashes. Human ships lost to unknown attackers. Early colonies abandoned. Messages that never reached home. We asked the galaxy for rules. The voice continued. We discovered there were none that protected the small. The images shifted to the Sol system's transformation. Mars hollowed carefully, Earth's orbit seeded with silent infrastructure, the gravity net growing layer by layer. So we wrote our own. Mars's crescent tightened, not threatening, but definitive. Rule 1, the voice said. No one reaches Earth without permission. A murmur spread through the trapped fleets. Rule 2, the voice continued. Anyone who tries will be stopped before they can force us to choose between survival and mercy. The implication hung heavy. Humanity did not want to choose. That was why the system existed. A final image appeared, simple, stark. A line drawn through space between Earth and Mars. On one side, safety. On the other, consequence. You crossed the line, the voice said. Now we will show you what happens next. The gravity net shifted again, opening corridors, not toward escape, but toward Mars. The trapped ships began to move, guided gently, inexorably, into holding formations around the red planet. Prison or protection, it was hard to tell which frightened the invaders more. As the first alien vessel settled into its assigned position, something unexpected happened. Its internal gravity stabilized. Life support normalized. Medical systems that had failed during the initial capture came back online, supplemented by energy feeds routed through the net. Humanity was keeping them alive. Why? An alien officer whispered, staring at the readings. No answer came directly. Instead, a new presence emerged from behind Mars, larger than the others, its silhouette unmistakable even through distortion. This ship was different. Older in design, heavier, layered with redundancies that spoke of long service. It took a central position, facing the held fleet. A human emblem finally became visible on its hull, not a flag, not a symbol of dominance. A simple mark. A circle, unbroken. The human voice returned, now carrying a weight it had avoided before. Because this is not a battle. The ship's weapons did not power up. Instead, massive communication arrays unfolded, locking onto every trapped vessel. This is a record. The meaning struck like a blow. Humanity was documenting everything. The invasion, the responses, the choices made under pressure. Not for celebration. Not for propaganda. For memory. What happens here will be shared, the voice said. With every power that still believes Earth is an easy target. The trapped crews felt the full weight of it then. They were not prisoners. They were witnesses. Mars's great ship powered something deep within its hull. Not a weapon. A transmitter, capable of reaching far beyond Sol, far beyond normal space. The human voice spoke one last sentence before the transmission began. You will help us teach the galaxy where the red line is. The transmitter flared to life, its signal threading into hyperspace, racing outward towards civilizations that had forgotten humanity ever existed. And far away, in places that had never feared Earth, alarms began to sound. The signal did not travel like a weapon. It did not burn through space or tear open hyperspace corridors. It moved with precision, folding itself into the background noise of the universe, riding currents no one monitored anymore. That was the first human advantage. The transmission reached listening posts, relay hubs, and ancient observation arrays long thought obsolete. It slipped past filters designed to catch threats and propaganda because it carried neither. It carried the truth. Across the galaxy, screens are activated without warning. In imperial capitals, advisors froze mid-argument as unfamiliar star maps filled the air. On trade worlds, dockmasters watched as shipments paused and ships powered down, crews staring upward in confusion. In war rooms older than some species-written history, generals felt something they had not felt in generations. Uncertainty. The message began the same everywhere. No symbol, no anthem, no demand, just recorded reality. The invasion fleet entering Sol. The silent boundary beyond Pluto. Ships vanishing without fire. The gravity net is tightening like a closing hand. The footage was unedited. That was the second human advantage. Every moment played out exactly as it had happened. No cuts, no exaggeration, no triumphant music, just cause and effect. The galaxy watched as commanders laughed at Earth's silence, as warnings were ignored, as the first ships were erased before reaching Mars. Then came the explanation. A calm human voice, translated perfectly into thousands of languages. This is a record of a violation. The line between Earth and Mars appeared again, rendered in stark clarity. This boundary exists because history taught us a lesson you forgot. The message did not accuse. It was not an insult. It reminded me. Scenes followed. Ancient wars between galactic powers, worlds glassed in the name of order, species erased because they were inconvenient. These were not human records. They were galactic ones, pulled from archives the great powers preferred not to revisit. You built rules to protect yourselves, the voice said. You failed to extend them to those you considered small. The recording shifted back to Sol, to Mars's fleet holding position, to alien ships suspended, alive, intact. When you came to us, the voice continued, you did not come as explorers. The footage showed the invasion armada's weapons charging. You came prepared to decide our fate. The galaxy watched the moment the null volume erased the first ship. I watched it vanish without explosion, without debris. Gasps echoed across 1,000 worlds. That was the third human advantage. Restraint made the violence unforgettable. The transmission continued. We could have expanded, the voice said. We could have conquered. Images appeared. Simulations humanity had never shared before. Galactic maps rewritten. Trade lanes redirected. Empires collapsing under calculated pressure. We chose containment instead. The message ended not with a threat, but a statement of policy. Earth is closed. The Sol system is protected. This is not negotiable. Then the final line appeared, plain and devastating. Anyone who tests this boundary will be stopped before they reach Mars. The transmission ended. Silence followed. Not confusion. Don't panic. Silence. Across the galaxy, leaders realized something had shifted permanently. This was not a declaration of war. It was a declaration of finality. Back in Sol, the human operators monitored the ripple effects. Data flowed in from distant sensors, communication spikes, emergency councils convening, fleets changing course. One officer spoke quietly. They're listening. Another nodded. They always do once it's too late. Mars's great ship remained motionless, its transmitter cooling. Around it, the captured invasion vessels drifted in perfect alignment, each one a living exhibit. Inside those ships, alien crews watched the same transmission, now replaying across their own systems. Some collapsed in relief, others in despair. They understood now. They had not been defeated by superior firepower. They had been defeated by preparation measured in centuries. A human commander entered the Martian command chamber, older than most, bearing the calm of someone who had grown up knowing this day might come. Status? She asked. The galactic response is escalating, an aide replied. No fleets moving towards Sol. Several powers are issuing public denials of hostile intent. The commander allowed herself a small, humorless smile. They always do that first. What about the prisoners? Another officer asked. The commander looked at the projection of the trapped ships. We keep them alive, she said. We keep them safe. And we keep recording. The officers understood. Memory was the real weapon now. As hours passed, messages began to arrive at the edge of Sol space. Not ships, Not probes. Signals. Carefully worded. Cautious. Requests for clarification. Requests for dialogue. Requests for forgiveness. Humanity answered none of them. Silence had worked before. It would work again. One signal, however, was different. It came from an ancient civilization, older than most, one that had seen cycles of rise and collapse repeat endlessly. Their message was brief. "We see you." The human commander read it twice. "Log it," she said. No response. Because recognition was enough. Back among the invasion ships, something changed. The crews began to talk, not about escape, but about survival. About what they would say when they returned. About how they would explain failure to powers that had sent them expecting an easy victory. They were afraid, but they were alive. And that, too, was part of the lesson. The gravity net adjusted one final time, tightening just enough to stabilize long-term containment. The null volume dimmed, returning to dormancy. Mars's fleet powered down its higher systems. Earth remained unseen. The commander took one last look at the data streams pouring in from across the galaxy. Fear, respect, calculation. Humanity had achieved what no empire ever had. It had made war irrational. As the Sol system settled back into controlled quiet, the commander spoke softly, knowing her words were being recorded for future generations. "They'll test us again," she said. "Not soon, but someday." An aide nodded. "Are we ready?" The commander looked toward Earth, hidden behind layers of deliberate silence. "We've always been ready," she replied. "That's why we don't have to prove it." Beyond the edge of Sol, fleets turned away. In distant halls of power, strategies were rewritten. The name Earth was removed from invasion scenarios and added to forbidden lists. And across the galaxy, a single truth spread faster than any transmission ever could. Humanity had not joined the stars. The stars had learned to go around humanity. The first thing to change was the maps. Across the galaxy, navigation charts quietly updated themselves. Trade routes that once brushed near Sol space bent away in wide arcs. Old hyperspace shortcuts were marked with new warnings, then quietly deprecated. Automated systems rerouted traffic without explanation, and most captains did not question it. They did not need to. Everyone had seen the record. In imperial capitals, councils met behind sealed doors. Not emergency sessions filled with shouting and threats, but long, tense meetings marked by silence and careful language. Admirals presented projections they never wanted to show. Economists explained what it meant to lose access to a region that had quietly become central to interstellar transit. And then there were the generals. They did not argue about whether Earth could be challenged. They argued about how quickly such an attempt would end. The conclusion was always the same. Too fast to matter. Too clean to recover from. Too final to survive politically. The galaxy had spent millennia measuring power by fleet size, by territory, by how loudly a civilization announced itself. Humanity had rewritten the metric without ever saying so. Power, it turned out, was the ability to decide when violence was unnecessary. In Sol, the human command watched the reactions unfold. Data flowed in steady, predictable streams. Panic spikes followed by sudden restraint. Military mobilizations that stopped halfway. Public speeches carefully edited to avoid even accidental provocation. One officer frowned at a projection. "They're afraid." The commander nodded. "Good." Another officer shifted uncomfortably. "Is that what we wanted?" The commander did not answer immediately. She studied the image of the red line between Earth and Mars. Unchanged, unwavering. "What we wanted," she said finally, "was time." Mars's containment ring remained stable. The captured invasion ships had been reorganized into long-term holding orbits, spaced far enough apart to prevent coordination, close enough to allow monitoring. Human support systems quietly fed life support, repaired critical failures, and stabilized hull stress. No interrogations followed. No trials. No punishment. That absence unsettled the prisoners more than any threat could have. Inside one alien vessel, a senior officer stared out at Mars, its rust-colored surface glowing softly in reflected sunlight. "They're not angry," he said to no one in particular. A younger crew member shook her head. "That's worse." They were right. Anger could be reasoned with, bargained with, exploited. But I could not. On Earth, life continued. Cities lit up at night. Children went to school. Markets opened. Storms came and went. To most humans, Nothing had changed, because that was the point. The defense of the species had been designed to be invisible to the species itself. That, too, was a lesson learned from history. Humanity had once burned itself alive with fear, with endless preparation for wars that never came, while ignoring the damage done at home. This time, the defense ran quietly in the background, overseen by systems and traditions older than any living person. The galaxy could watch. Earth would live. Weeks passed, then months. The initial shock faded, replaced by something far more dangerous for the rest of the galaxy. Acceptance. The Sol system became a blank space in conversation, a topic avoided at diplomatic gatherings. A footnote in military briefings marked "Do not engage." New doctrines were written. No unsolicited contact with Earth, no military transit through Sol-adjacent space, no probing of human defense systems. These rules were not enforced by treaties. They were enforced by memory. In one ancient empire, a young strategist dared to suggest that humanity's restraint could be tested, carefully, diplomatically, perhaps with unmanned probes. The room went quiet. An elder turned slowly to face him. "Did you watch the whole record?" the elder asked. "Yes," the strategist replied. "All of it." The strategist hesitated. "Then you missed the point," the elder said. "They didn't show us everything. They showed us what they were willing to admit." The suggestion was never raised again. Back in Seoul, the human commander reviewed a report she had hoped never to read. Probability models updated. Long-term projections shifted. The galaxy was stabilizing, but not permanently. Fear decayed. Memory faded. New leaders would rise who had not lived through this moment. They would question old restrictions. They would wonder if the stories had been exaggerated. Humanity had planned for that too. A junior officer approached cautiously. "Ma'am, we're detecting something." The commander looked up. "Define something." "A pattern," the officer said. "Deep space observations. Far outside known territories. Someone is watching." The room grew quiet. "Who?" the commander asked. The officer swallowed. "We don't know. The signatures don't match any recorded civilization. Mars's defenses are subtly adjusted. Not aggressively. Not visibly." The commander exhaled slowly. "So," she said, the galaxy was not the only thing listening. The realization did not frighten her. It confirmed an old assumption. Humanity had never believed it was alone among the stars. They had only believed it was early. The human commander issued a single order. "Do nothing." The officers glanced at each other. "Nothing?" one asked. "Nothing visible," she clarified. "Let them watch." Because the message was already out there. Earth did not posture. Earth did not threaten. Earth did not chase power. Earth endured. Far away, in the darkness between galaxies, ancient observers adjusted their focus. They had seen empires rise and collapse like waves. They had seen species burn bright and die young. They had not seen this. A civilization that could end wars, but chose to end invasions instead. A species that built weapons and then locked them away. A homeworld so well protected that it no longer needed to announce itself. In Seoul, the red line remained unchanged. Between Earth and Mars. Between survival and annihilation. Between what humanity could do and what it refused to become. The commander stood alone for a moment, looking at the projection of the system she had sworn to protect. "They'll forget," she said quietly. An aide beside her nodded. "Eventually." The commander's expression did not change. "Then we'll remind them," she replied. "Once, and only once." Beyond Mars, the stars kept their distance. And for the first time in a very long time, the galaxy learned an unfamiliar behavior. It learned how to look away. The Sol system settled into a rhythm that looked like peace. From the outside, nothing appeared unusual. Stars burned as they always had. Planets followed ancient paths. No fleets patrolled the boundary. No weapons pointed outward. The gravity net faded back into near imperceptibility, its presence detectable only to instruments designed to look for what should not exist. To the galaxy, Sol became quiet again, but not empty. Deep beneath Earth's surface, far below cities and oceans, systems continued to run. They did not require constant orders or heroic oversight. They followed rules written by generations who had agreed on one thing above all else. Humanity would never be surprised again. On Mars, the great ship powered down its transmission arrays and returned to dormant orbit. Its work was done, for now. The captured invasion vessels remained in stable containment, crews alive, supplied, and watched. No interrogations followed. No attempts to extract secrets. Those ships were not prisoners. They were evidence. Years passed. The memory of the invasion hardened into legend. Children across the galaxy grew up hearing fragments of the story. How an armada vanished before reaching Mars. How Earth revealed nothing yet controlled everything. Some dismissed it as exaggeration. Others treated it as a warning carved into history. Humanity did not correct them. On Earth, life continued uninterrupted. New generations grew up under open skies, unaware that their planet had ever been threatened. They studied stars for curiosity, not fear. They dreamed of exploration, not conquest. That ignorance was deliberate. The systems protecting Sol were designed to never require public panic. Humanity had learned that survival did not require constant awareness of danger, only readiness. In the deepest command chamber, the human commander reviewed a final report before stepping down from her post. She had served her entire life knowing this moment might come, knowing she might never be thanked for it. That was fine. The report summarized everything. No hostile fleets approaching Sol, no probe incursions detected, galactic military doctrines revised to exclude Earth, Sol system classified as inviolable space. One final note caught her attention. Long-range observation arrays continued to detect distant watchers, ancient, powerful, patient. They had not moved closer. They had not sent signals. They were simply watching. The commander closed the report and stood. "They'll decide what we are," she said softly. An aide looked up. "Does it matter?" The commander considered the question. "No," she said. "Not unless they decide to test it." She left the chamber without ceremony. Above her, Earth rotated peacefully. Oceans reflected sunlight. Storms gathered and passed. Billions of lives continued without ever knowing how close they had come to becoming a lesson written in someone else's archive. That was humanity's quiet victory. Far beyond Sol, in places older than Earth's sun, the Watchers debated. They had seen civilizations shout their power into the void, only to draw predators they could not escape. They had seen empires expand until they collapsed under their own weight. They had seen kindness mistaken for weakness and restraint punished by annihilation. Humanity confused them. Here was a species that built weapons capable of erasing fleets, and then refused to use them unless forced. A species that hid not out of fear, but out of discipline. A civilization that did not ask permission to exist, nor seek validation from the stars. One ancient observer summarized it simply. "Earth is not a threat," it said. "Earth is a constant." The others agreed. Constants were dangerous to disturb. Time moved on. The invasion commander, the lone survivor allowed to escape, returned to his people. His warnings reshaped doctrine, culture, even philosophy. Entire academies were rebuilt around one case study. Never mistake silence for absence. He never spoke of what humanity could do. He spoke only of what humanity chose not to do. That choice haunted him more than destruction ever could. Centuries later, when new civilizations rose and began to explore aggressively, their elders told them the story of Sol, of a line in space no one crossed, of a species that did not rule the galaxy, yet shaped its behavior. Most listened. A few did not. Those few never reached Mars. In the end, humanity did not become an empire. It became a boundary, a fixed point in a chaotic universe, a reminder etched not in monuments or treaties, but in survival statistics and unexplained absences. The stars learned to route around Earth, not because Earth demanded it, but because the universe understood, at last, that some homes were not meant to be taken. And somewhere, deep beneath layers of stone and silence, the systems continued to watch, patient, unmoving, ready, because humanity did not believe it was the strongest species in the galaxy. It only believed one thing mattered more than strength: being the last one still standing when the universe tested you.